Okay, before we move on to finishing up the task add component, we have one more thing that we need to do here in our task list. So if you remember on our checkbox, we actually have a change event listener here that says anytime this checkbox changes, I need you to call an onTaskChange method, and we're going to pass the event and the task. So with that, we're back in our task list component, and right now all we're doing is logging to the console. So we want to fix that up. And what we want to do here is actually call our task service and save this off. So let's write the task service first, and then we'll talk about implementing it here in our component. So we need a new save task method. So we'll call this save task, and this is going to take a task. And I also want to take a property called checked, which is of Boolean. So the first thing we need to do is we need to set our task completed based on the value of the checkbox. So we're basically saying, is it checked or not? Then what we're going to do, similar to the get tasks, we're going to use our HTTP component to call it to Spring Boot and do something. So in this case, we're going to call HTTP, and this time we're calling post, not get. So now we're calling /API/task/save. Again, this is a controller method that we set up in Spring Boot. And that's going to take a body, and this body is going to be task. Again, we're going to map this out. So we're going to say map, and we're going to say response, which is of type response. And all we're going to do is return the response.json. Actually, let's there. Actually, let's simplify this. I don't know why. Let's just go map response.json. Okay, that looks pretty good. So again, we're going to get in a task, so the actual task object, and then we're just going to get a checked tick, whether this is checked or not. And the reason we want that is we want to be able to set our task to checked or unchecked, so whether it's checked or not. And then once that is done, now we're passing that entire task object as the body of our post to our Spring Boot save method. So finally over here, all we're going to do is call that service. So we're just going to call this.taskService.saveTask. And so we're going to pass in the task, which we got, remember, back in our task list component. We're passing in an event and the actual task. So we've got our task. Now we need to pass in whether or not it's checked or not. So we can actually do that by getting it from the event, getting the target, and whether or not it was checked. So we're going to fire that off using the subscribe, and that should make this happen. So let's go ahead and give this a try. I think we're still running. Just clear this out. I think this is complaining. Oh, okay. Never mind. So this is basically complaining that it doesn't know what task is. We didn't import it here in our service yet. So let's go ahead and save that. Hopefully this all compiles up now. And there we go. Okay, so let's go back to our application. And what we want to do now is just go ahead and look. And if we go ahead and check a particular task, we can see that this went ahead and changed. And if you want to, let's just go ahead and check these off. And now let's jump into localhost 8080, and we'll go ahead and look at the console. So h2 console. And so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these should be completed. So here's our tasks. Let's go ahead and look at the task, run. And now if you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these are completed. So we can see that our Angular side of our application is now calling our task service, which is going to end up calling our Spring Boot application via HTTP post, and in the body it's passing the task. So on the Spring Boot side of things, it's actually taking that task as the body and converting it over to a task on the Spring Boot side to make everything kind of work. So that's that. We're actually saving, and actually if we come back, let's just check this out one more time. If we uncheck it, it works as well. So we know that our kind of save task is working. And now what we need to move on to finally is the add task, and we'll do that in the next lesson.